10 minutes. We're going to have drinks in the Heritage Room over there. I do want to kick off by saying a huge thank you to our sponsors, led by Cloud Staff, Dynamic Methods, and the gang that you see here over on the right. Would not be possible without you. Thank you to all the folks and the leaders within the Proptech Association, of course, led by Kylie, but many of you folks in this room are not just members, but are folks who lead. So a huge round of applause. Thank you for making today possible. If you got a lot out of it, and I hope you did, and you made some amazing connections, which I hope you did, or had some great conversations with people already knew, that is the blood, sweat, and tears of people like Kylie, to make forums like this happen. So, Kylie, thank you for doing that, and I think we're all very indebted to you. Here. It is definitely a labor of love, as you can see. Blood, sweat, and tears to make something like this happen and make it fun, engaging, and well-produced. I did want to also just say, a thank you to each of you. Thank you to each of you. Thank you for creating the future, right? You're gonna take 1,000 no's to get to a yes, 1,000 failures to get to a success. Some of you at the start of the journey, some of you have been on here for decades, but you were trying to deliver something of value that is transformative for ultimately our country and for our customers. And that's hard. That takes risks. That's a lot of unrewarded hours and years. Very few people get that glorious exit. A lot of it's blood, sweat, and tears. So thank you. And on behalf of, myself and the company that I represent, thank you for creating the future, for taking risks in the prime of your years, and for supporting our mutual customers. If we're not people in this room, it'd be a lot harder for the real estate agents out there. It wouldn't work. And the companies like Domain and REA can't do it all and never will. There is an ecosystem that we're all a part of. So thank you for investing yourself today, and thank you for all that you do. So if you see me, you'll probably see that I take a ton of notes. Part of that is the cathartic act of writing forces me to memorize things. And what I want to do is to share with you a bit about my summary. Me and Kylie introduced kind of the whole reason for today, which is talk about making change happen. And at the start of the day, I introduced a bunch of circles and an orange-haired man called Trump. And what I want to do is almost relive the day, but in reverse order. Starting with this fourth circle. We want to live about the trends that are providing shocks and opportunities and how to be an agent of change. So we talked about changing Australia and the world. A lot of speakers spoke about this, and I just want to call out a few of the quotes that I really took away. We all began with Kylie. If you can't look after yourself, you can't be a force for good. If you want to look after the country, you got to start looking after you. And that's the theme I'm going to end on. You saw it talk about it. You saw David talk about that. But that was hopefully a really big part. National change starts right here. Starts at the heart. Kylie talked about so much waste and so much cost. I don't know if you remember those numbers. Every time we bought a house, we waste $20,000. Shocking number of waste. 44% of all waste is building material waste. Crazy. It takes $500,000 to build a house. And it's not going to cost zero, but there is so much opportunity through learning and through data to optimize that. That is our gift to the nation, one of them. We can get that right. Kylie talked about the big vision of Proptech Australia. And there was this huge list, I remember the slide, there's like 20 things on it. More housing, better plan, build faster, cost less, nicer living, et cetera, et cetera. It seems ridiculous in some ways. How can we have our cake and eat it too? But hopefully what you took away from me, those inspiring stories of what is happening in this room, of the kind of innovations that are happening through Proptech Labs, through the association, through Reach. Companies are helping save money, do things faster, recycle ideas, reduce wastage across the board. Changing the world and changing Australia is possible if only we partner and persevere. Lucinda talked about how we need to talk differently about serviceability. What does it look like? It doesn't work for today. Oh, there were some crazy stats there about how the way that we used to calculate saving a deposit, it's gone out the window, 5.6 years on average. It takes 3.5 years times the income a generation ago. Now it's 7.5 times the average wage to buy a house. This is nuts. We need to be part of that change in educating banks and governments about how to think about serviceability and suburbs differently. And this room, the data that you're collecting, the propensity models that come out of it, is part of the solution. That was a huge part of it. I love this panel. Sorry a bit for the formatting. This is a bit of a bastardization, and it's kind of a tribute to all of them. But we're shocked at what we can do with AI, data, compute, and that whole debate of, should you use AI or compute or not. People manually entering long strings of numbers and Used to take them 4 minutes, now it takes 4 seconds. And they tell other people, and now it proliferates. Not only has data and AI made things faster, but the ability to spread that knowledge and drive adoption is faster than ever before. We know it took the phone 50 years to get to 100 million users. We know it took ChatGPT 2 months, and it took Facebook Threads 5 days. The ability to innovate and proliferate is an awesome thing. It's made for a crowded marketplace, but it means that adoption is possible in ways that were not thought of before. That's what I took away from a national point of view, a selection of some really cool quotes. But a lot of today was about customers. And if I could summarize how we think our customers, our industry, it's this: keep it simple, stupid. And I thought it was a wonderful thread that went through today about just how much we need to, I wouldn't say dumb things down. We have to do the hard work of simplifying that which is complex in order that our customers who are busy, who might be really old, really young, or some in the middle, we've got to simplify it. And there were so many great talks on this. I know Nigel wasn't even a speaker, but for some reason in the roundtable, he was there. And he had this great quote which stuck in my head. He said, like, make something simple for us. And he used a colloquial phrase referring to more tenured folks, But he said, don't do it just for us, even though that tends to be decision makers and real estate agents. Because actually, you make it simple for people who might not be good with technology, actually, it's good for everyone, from Gen Z up. I thought it was a really powerful phrase that stuck with me. From that panel, from Redbeard and Proptech Labs, don't say AI, say compute. And the reason why not to use AI is kind of like it adds confusion. Really, it's all about usefulness. And don't worry, is it the AI or the data or the cloud make it useful? Is something being computed that ultimately drives usefulness and accessibility for customers? Keep it simple, stupid. Next one. All right, something that Jacob said, we overestimate how much people can change and absorb. And this kind of panel there, I remember, they're all kind of getting stuck into everyone, that panel. But I think it was really interesting. Just, hey, look, just stop overestimating what people are capable of doing. They're too busy for that stuff. You've got to keep it simple. You've got to keep it simple. Sana said that as well. Platforms have overpromised and undelivered, right? She wants more, but not more stuff, not more words. Just do what you say. Keep it simple, stupid. Sorry, the formatting's got a bit funny. But this is a story about David, and David obviously talked a lot about the more recent struggles. But actually, the reason why Dynamic Maps was so popular is because it was the first platform that was just really easy to use. Every single state had a different form. It was confusing. They just came up with something that was just better. It's just better. It just solved people's problems. It was easy. It still does. And that was so beautiful about it. And in that dynamic method story, yes, we can focus on some of the strategic questions of what you do when you're so big, and it's time for that next phase. But don't forget, it all began by taking something that was really painful and really confusing and just making it really damn simple, building an API-centric business. What a wonderful thing. Mark and Sarah talked about partner and competitors. There was a great question came from the room, the elephant in the room, right? And what they said is, no, our biggest partnerships are our biggest competitors. But be discerning about what partnerships make sense. And Sarah talked a bit about that 12-point scale that they use to discern which partnerships make sense. James E., there's only a small group of people who can acquire you. You have to know what your strategic priorities are, not your problems. And to me, that was this big thread. As people who create things, we are so proud. Hey, I made this thing. Look what it does. It's so super cool. And you should be proud of it. What you built is awesome. Blood, sweat, and tears, years in the making. But that's not what's going to get you bought. And that's not what's going to get customers to take you up in big amounts. Ultimately, they're obsessed with their problems, not your creations. Do you know their strategic priorities? Do you know what domain and REA and CoreLogic and MRI care about? If you know what that is, then you can find there's common ground, not waste your time. And if there is common ground, you can exploit it to your advantage and use the distribution, the balance sheet of some of those big players. Again, keep it simple, stupid. Focus on their problems, not what you have made. There's a lot there, right? About customers in industry, about partnerships, about solving problems. But the second last circle for me was about teams. And if I could summarize what I learned from teams, was these two things. Keep them focused in a sea of potential distraction and stay human. Because ultimately teams will fear and revere you. How are you going to help them approach you and know that mistakes are okay and the way that we learn? In Steve and Mike Tim, on one of the roundtables I went to, spoke at this. You can't improve what you don't measure. Therefore, you must measure the things that matter. Gus spoke of this as well. What are the 10 things we measure? And this is surprisingly deceptive. For myself, I like to think of myself as a geek. I kind of pride myself on it, actually. And part of being a geek often finds me reveling in having lots of numbers. Oh, if I have so many numbers, so many words, I must be so smart. But the smartest thing is to find the signal from the noise, not the 100 metrics that are automatically produced in our Tableau dashboard. What's the one thing? What's the one thing we're going to focus on now, we're going to nail? Because the team are not focused on that, and if we're not measuring that and obsessing about it every week, every day, look at those numbers, we are going to get distracted by things which are good but not great, by the circumference but not the center. Steve spoke a lot about this, and I love this Steve Jobs quote. It's going to stay with the rest of my life. Hey, I can just imagine that conversation went, Steve, welcome back to being interim CEO. I just love you to come visit Australia and come down under. We'll have a kangaroo. It'll be fantastic. I can just imagine how Steve Jobs lived with the F word. It must have been one for the ages. But to me, that is what made Steve Jobs great. Okay, he should have been more human. I think we all get that. But that notion of he could not even fathom why the hell he'd go to Australia. This company is burning down. We've had 3 CEOs in 2 years. Why the F would I come to Australia? And whilst we might want to phrase that differently, it's that ruthless prioritization that made Steve Jobs build the most valuable company that has ever existed. $3 trillion US, and an iPhone, who here's got an iPhone? Any Android users? Oh, wow, that's the best I've seen. I worked on Android for 10 years. I was very proud of it. Usually it's about 1% of all real estate agents. So 30%, this is a kind of a geeky room. So well done, guys. But that kind of ruthless prioritization, it's all about the Mac. And then one day it's all about the iPod. And one day it's all about the iPhone. That kind of ruthless prioritization, do you have it? That got me soul searching. Do I know what my core metric is? I've got 10 that Gus spoke about. What's the one? What's the one that if I don't now, that nothing else matters? That is that ruthless prioritization that we need to have in ourselves and make it simple for our teams. With the resources we have today, how well is our team performing relative to what is possible? I realize, and I was asking myself this question, I don't know how I'm going to answer in my team. I don't know if they're all 6s and 7s. And to me, that was a bit like, oh, have you asked, John? Have you given the team the permission to ask those questions? Have you given yourself up to the scrutiny of the team saying, actually, John, I think we're going the wrong direction? That is a critical thing for a leader, to cultivate that trust in your team. But as we do all this, have empathy. Change is hard because it's human. I love that picture he said. It's a bit of a harrowing picture, which is the point of it. Someone on you said, hey, there was an ambulance outside your house. You couldn't process anything. You'd be totally limbic, totally caveman or cavewoman until you knew what was going on with your family. And that is the response that we engender in our teams when things change. You talked about how David really tried to walk that tightrope in giving that team transparency, but also protecting them. And I think it's a testament to him that none of his team members have left, despite all the ups and downs and ACCC and AFR and all that kind of crazy stuff. But having the other team's perspective about what they need to hear is hard when you're the leader and you've gone on this journey of change, anticipation, living the future, and they have not. Have empathy. Change is hard because it's human. Because if you want people to think you care, you actually have to care. That was a wonderful thing. You can't fake this stuff. So to summarize, I think my big takeaway today is it's actually all about ourselves. As Gus said, or as I said about Gus, what got you here won't get you there. We need to be constantly learning, disrupting. And that is why I want to thank you for coming today, because it's not like you had a spare day to muck around, right? There's stuff that's burning. There's emails that piled up, customer calls. You came today and invested in yourself, both in terms of learning and being encouraged by other amazing people who are trying to do audacious things in Proptech. If you can't look after yourself, you can't be a force for good. That quote, which I have, Carly. Have a good network around you. Have a good network around you. David speak out how he went through it. And I loved what he said. It was quite harrowing. He talked about the people who checked in on him at his darkest hour. And for me, I look inside and I say, do I do that? I want to be that kind of person. I want to be the kind of person who says, are you okay? And I deeply believe the kind of people who ask, are the people okay, do that because they're asking themselves that same question. They are able to draw upon that empathy and that feeling within themselves and extend that to other people. So are you prioritizing self-care and care of others? If you don't do that, then all this disruption, all this national Proptech stuff, whatever. If you can't be a good person, the kind of person who goes up to someone who's down and says, are you okay, who remembers and makes time to do so, that's where empathy begins. Do you want to work with a learn-it-all versus a know-it-all? I want to be a learn-it-all. I want to know stuff, but I don't want that knowledge to hold me back from getting to where I need to be. Technology has amplified what humans can do. I love what Steve said. A generation ago, a 25-year-old couldn't do much. Generally, the 50, 60-year-olds around the world. But with technology, a 25-year-old Mark Zuckerberg can create a platform that now serves 3 billion people. Facebook, WhatsApp, Messenger, Instagram. It's possible. Many in this room are that age, and maybe you've been doing this since that age. And it's possible what you can do with scale because of technology. It's amplified human performance. So we're going to summarize that all together. Hopefully today has been a great education in making change happen. Our job is to identify the shocks and opportunities to make change happen. And hopefully you walk away with a great sense of not just some of the trends, which you're probably aware of, but have more detail on, but some of the toolkits you can work on to change the country, to change your customers, to change your team, and to start by changing yourself. So on that note, here. Yeah. On that note, to drink our worries away by Dynamic Methods, that's probably no irony there, but in general, a huge thanks to Dynamic Methods for sponsoring our networking drinks. We're just back there, guys. I'd love to say hi before I go. Thanks for your time and well done.